one night I was doing it. Wee, 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 wee.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming Views.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for tonight's main event. In the red corner, weighing in at several pounds of plastic, armed with shiny discs and a box art to die for, we have physical media. The crowd goes wild for its resale value, collector's charm, and a new game smell. And in the blue corner, lighter than air, faster than a speed run, never needs dusting, digital media, backed by instant downloads, cloud saves, and a library that fits in your pocket. 2 formats enter, only one can claim victory. Or maybe they'll call it a draw and we'll just play something together. Let's get gaming. Joining me as always for this debate is the one and only Dan H, who's just about made me get through that with your giggling there, I tell you.
I can't, I'm not sure how to cope with new game smell. I'm just
That's a thing, right?
I think it must be a thing. I've never sniffed a game. Like, for me, it was always the cellophane. Do you know the little fun and the little thing? And that was it for me. But I never kind of did it.
Do we go down this line? I mean, the manuals you used to get, they had the new book smell kind of thing ultimately, didn't they? So there was... There was a new game.
I was just looking because I do have a sealed game somewhere around here, and I was gonna on broadcast unbox it. Unfortunately, it's Luigi's Haunted Mansion for the Switch that I managed to get 2 copies of one Christmas, one for my girls. Well, I got one for one of my kids because she asked for it, and I'd ordered one and it wasn't going to turn up on time.
Oh, okay.
And then it did. Oh, sorry, it did, and the other one turned up. So I ended up with 2, and I was like, "Oh, send it back," and I got lazy and never sent it back. So it's now kicking around here somewhere as a. So if anyone wants one, let us know in the comments. And
there you go. Yeah, there you go. If we can get to 200 YouTube subscribers by the end of the week,
nice, 200 wins.
Yeah. So obviously that intro, we've kind of alluded to it. Our main debate today is going to be physical v digital, but I want to talk to you. I was going to ask you how you are because you've not been too well, but
I was really poor. Yeah, I was. In our previous video, I alluded to the fact I was feeling a bit under the weather and how it was going to be fun to deal with for the weekend. Turned out it wasn't the weekend; it was the entire week. I was on my back in bed, laid up, could barely get out of bed. So, COVID, not fun. Didn't enjoy it. I wouldn't recommend. 0 points.
So I just want to say to everyone, so if you're listening on audio only, please do go subscribe. I mean, subscribe where you're listening to for a start if you haven't. Subscribe to all the places you're not. But go check over the YouTube channel because even though he was sickly as anything, he still turned out an absolutely stellar video over on YouTube. So yeah, if you're listening to audio only, do go check out YouTube because Dan always puts some cool little Easter eggs and things into the videos. But you're feeling better now?
I'm much better, yeah. Not quite 100% weirdly, but I'm much better than I was. Back on my feet, back at work, back in, podcast mode. There you go, podcast mode. That's where I am.
Yeah, because it's funny. We alluded, like I said, I mean, because time of recording the video, the episode dropped today, and we're both saying how busy we were because I was away for the week, wasn't I? I started a new job and I was away for a week, and you were ill at the same time, and I felt really bad because I couldn't
never feel bad.
Not that I could help with the video anyway at the moment, but it's like and I just kept saying,
I got broad shoulders, mate. Don't you worry. Don't worry. We'll sally forth. Whatever. We'll pick up the slack when one of us is down. It's all good.
But because I was away, I haven't played too much. So I'm going to ask you. I played one game ultimately, but I'm going to ask you, what have you been playing?
So, a little known game came out on Game Pass this past week called Assassin's Creed Mirage. So, so I picked that up and had a go at it, but frustratingly, I genuinely don't think this is a me thing. I think there's something with the game and how it interacts with quick resume. And I'll tell you what happens. Basically, you play the game. You go into a cutscene, and if you've started again from quick resume, it basically just keeps dropping the controller out every 30 seconds going, you need a controller to play this game. Right. And you have to press the button and say, no, I've got one. I'm pressing the button now. Yeah. And 30 seconds later, we'll do the same thing. Frustratingly, though, I then came out of the game and thought, I just closed the game down, started back up. Same thing. And And then I went, oh, maybe there's an update for the controller because it's Elite controller. Did the update. There was an update. Did the update. Same thing. And so I've managed to get about an hour in, and and there's quite a lot of cutscenes in the game. Other than that, it's quite good. It's got all the little frustrations and nuances of every Assassin's Creed game. It doesn't quite jump in the direction you want it to. It's not as sticky as, like we were playing Split Fiction, and it's quite sticky in terms of the mechanics. This isn't like that, and it's Shadows is actually better. So it gets a little bit frustrating. You're like, oh, I'll just run and jump across this river because I'm being chased by a bunch of people. Oh no, I didn't jump into a log on the river. I jumped into the river, and now they've all pelted me with whatever they were shooting at me, and I'm dead. So it's just a little bit of that, but it looks very nice. It's very pretty.
Do you know what? It must be a thing with Assassin's Creed and Game Pass, because when Valhalla was on there, I can't remember if I mentioned it on here. I played the first 3 hours of that game about 3 or 4 times because I kept losing progress with the game.
I lost 17 hours of progress in Valhalla. 17 hours. And I got to a part of the story, and I remember I'd gone through, and there's a quest where you take down a bunch of witches in East Anglia, and you get Thor's armor set. And I went through the whole lot, and they're quite tough battles, but I managed to do it, and I got through the whole lot and got this armor set. And it was just after that point that the save issue, it was a known issue, but basically it occurred, and I lost 17 hours worth of progress, and I had to go through and do it all again. And I put the game down for an entire year before I was willing to pick it up again and go,
only games can hurt you like that, right?
Only games can hurt you like that. Yeah. So, the other thing I did pick up, and we talked about it briefly in last week's episode on the back of the Nintendo Direct. I hadn't realized that one of the games we talked about, which was The Adventures of Elliot, Millennium Tales, which isn't due out until next year, but they'd actually dropped a demo of the first, I guess it's the first small area. So the starting area and the kind of the first, not dungeon, but dungeon-esque type cave system. So I picked that up and had a bash through that and played it through to completion. I really enjoyed it. It really scratches that Secret of Mana / Zelda itch.
Okay.
It's a single player campaign. A lot of fun, but exactly as you'd expect from kind of a Zelda type game, in terms of power ups and how you operate. What's quite nice, the little hook it's got is you've got this little fairy, I guess, for want of a better word, that you can control with the right thumbstick, who will go around and collect things for you and give you special boosts and things like that. So, there's a bit of coordination piece going on there, which isn't great for me, but it actually worked out okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I think I'll be picking that one up next year when it comes out. And the only other thing I played was you very kindly offered me one of the keys that we'd got for a game, and I managed to find a game that doesn't suck. So,
you have? Okay.
So I played about an hour of it. Yeah, and it doesn't suck, Dan. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that one.
Oh, is this the one I gave you yesterday?
This is the one you gave me yesterday, because it's called RPG, and it's actually really good.
Your next one, you're not overly happy with, are you? So I got you.
Shit. No, I'm not. No, it's not filming with joy. Honestly, I don't get how some of these games get on. I mean, I think I could make a game at this rate. Do you know what I mean? I genuinely do. And some idiots from a podcast would download it and play it.
That's a 2026 aim, right? That's a 2026 aim. Well, yeah. No, I've not played too much. Like I said, because I was away, and I've got a new setup. So 2 things have happened. One, I think I messaged you 2 hours ago, didn't I? Say I've lost half my notes, so I've quickly put them back together. And I've got a new, well, I say new setup. I've just got the camera in a different place, and so I hadn't tested it because obviously that's a clever thing to do. So I'm aware that I'm sitting really still or in a certain angle.
You're perfectly central. It's just there's more landscape behind you than usual. That's the only thing, which is fine because editing.
Beauty of editing. No, I played 2 games really. One that will be in one of our reviews, so I won't talk about that yet. But the other one I played briefly was Mafia, the Old Country. So pick that up.
Yes, yeah. That was a little, for people who aren't aware, it was Dan's birthday for the weekend. I'm going to tell people it was Dan's birthday, and you can't edit this bit out other than in the audio. So Dan bought himself Mafia, the Old Country, which I think is lovely. Yeah. I'd love to buy myself a birthday present.
I'd ordered it, then cancelled it because I had a feeling it wasn't going to be a good game. And then I thought, let's sod it. It's a birthday coming up. So I ordered it again. I'm only a couple of hours in, and it's very typical Mafia film. But I'm having fun with it. And it was also to link in with a story we said a couple of weeks ago. They intentionally released it at, I want to say, normal price. So it's not like the $69.
$70.
They released it at a normal price, which was fun. But something I've seen...
Because all the previous ones have been... They've jumped forward in time, haven't they? And there was rumours that this one was going to be kind of, was it 1950s or somewhere around there? But they've gone right back to Sicilian start of the mafioso.
Like 1904. So yeah. So that was, and I kind of like that, but it is very much, it's given me the Godfather 2 vibes.
Right, which you love. We're not stereotyping Italian Dan, but you do love a bit of,
I love the gangster films and that. But the other thing, just briefly, because this wasn't a point I was going to bring up, was I've seen a lot of discourse that it's got a lot of criticism because the character doesn't swim in it. Like if you go into water, you just sort of teleport back to the shore.
Not everyone can swim.
Oh no, and this is it. And someone's done a comparison of, in the game you chop logs, and it's not as good as the wood chopping scene in Red Dead Redemption 2. And we go back to these fine little details. I mean, like the developers have said, to their credit, they've said, look, we've made it's a cheaper game because we've made it a lot more focused. It's not open world. We want it to be a linear story. And some people are saying, what's the point of layering mechanic for something that's not really going to feature, which I get. But again, do you remember we were talking about the Spider-Man puddle a couple of weeks ago?
Puddlegate,
It's just all come back. And it's like, really, just because that wood chopping scene? I've not bought Lumberjack Simulator. I've bought Mafia. I want to see Mafia stuff, you know?
I was going to say, I hope none of them go and play Zelda like Breath of the Wild. You seen the tree chopping in that? I mean, it's, it's not lifelike, Dad.
But yeah, so that's what I've been playing. So we'll see how I get on with that.
You'll love it. You'll have completed it by the time we come back next week.
I'll message you a half hour after the podcast. The other thing I'm just going to say, we have decided to choose again the hottest day for recent weeks to record.
Oh my God.
32.
It's like the gods of podcasting hate us sometimes. They just go, "Oh, you're moving to a Tuesday? Oh yeah, give me a sec. Let me just. Oh no, what I've got in my diary is stupidly hot. There you go. So yeah, that was fun.
What we need is like a webcam or a microphone that spritzes you with nice cooling spray every 5 minutes.
Idea. My daughter's got a water bowl that does that.
Oh really?
She can press a button on it.
Spray yourself
Spray yourself with that. Yeah.
Before we get stuck into the debate, and I've decided we're going to play an advert at some point as well. But before we get stuck in, there were a couple of stories I just wanted to say to you. And one actually I saw today. I won't go into it fully, but AOL in the States are turning off dial-up internet after 34 years.
Sorry. Are AOL still around?
AOL are still a thing in this world. Yeah. Not here, it seems, but... Do you remember?
Well, they were, isn't it America Online? That's what they were.
But when we first had the internet here years ago, you got an AOL disc. Do you remember?
Yeah. I remember the packs. I remember the glossy packs. So you opened them and you had a CD and
Yeah. But
I will find the sound clip for the modem noise.
But yeah, 30th September, they're going to shut down their dial-up service after 34 years. And I had a quick look. Worldwide, there's around 20 million users still on dial-up.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I suppose third world countries and places where...
Yeah, rural
we take
areas.
It for granted.
Yeah. And as of the only stat I found was as of 2023... there are about 160 to 175,000 houses in the US that still relied on it, which was 0.13% of US households. But yeah, I mean, end of an era. I'm sure there are still some dial-up services out there, but yeah, AOL turning off dial-up.
We just say 34 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what? My kids quite often, they'll ask me, "Oh, Dad, did you have a mobile phone when you were younger? Or did you watch YouTube when you were younger?" And I'm like, they didn't exist, girls. They're not, they weren't things.
Yeah.
And sometimes as the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm like, is that true?
Shocking, isn't it?
It is. But when you put it like that, they've been, AOL's been going for 34 years and I'm, nearly 50. I'm kind of like, crap, no, I was 16 when the internet was invented, or at least, a bigger thing.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, I got my first mobile phone, I think when I was at uni. So we're talking about 99, I think, or 96, something like that. So yeah, and of course
Yeah,
I was at uni. so what,
97,
20?
just after the birth of my son.
Yeah.
That was when I got my first mobile, and it was the. Do you remember the Matrix? The banana phone from the Matrix.
Yeah, everyone
and
wanted that.
What was so disappointing was on the Matrix, like they pressed the button and the thing slid out.
Yeah.
It didn't happen on the real one. You had to pull it out. And it was like, what? Where's his? I want Neo's one. Give me
You
give
weren't
me the
Neo.
button.
You weren't
I wasn't Neo. I wasn't the one, mate. No. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Yeah, and do you remember the old dial-up internet? We're going to digress, but it kind of, I feel, fits in with the
I
theme.
remember that MSN and, having to plug your modem in to dial up your like, mates on chat.
And I accidentally called up the police because of dial-up internet.
Well, you complained about how shoddy it was. But
No, I had. So,
I'm lagging.
So, yeah. No, so obviously you had to connect it into the phone line, right?
Yeah.
And when in the room I was
You might
in,
have to explain to people what phones are, Dan. What home phones are.
phones were like your cell phone, but they had a wire that connected to a wall. And you couldn't walk around. You could walk around to the confine of the cable.
About 2 metre radius.
Yeah. And in my bedroom, I didn't have a phone line. So what I bought myself was these extenders. So you plugged it into a phone line and you extend it. So I dragged this cable around the whole house and plugged it in. But then over time, the connection wasn't as good. So I'd have to wiggle the cable to get the connection, before you get that wee, 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 all that sound. One night I was doing it. It took ages. Finally got through. And then there was a knock at the door. And it was this, because my family have a business, it was this policeman that we knew. And he goes, everything all right, Dan? I said, yeah. He goes, are you
I
sure?
like the way he knew your first name. That's
Yeah,
right, Dan.
no, he
Like with Bobby.
He was a friend. He goes, you sure? And I said, yeah, everything's fine. He goes, do you mind if we just come in to check? Because he has someone else. I said, yeah, because he goes, we had a 999 call from me. I said, no one. I said, I just got home. I'd only been home. I'd been working, me and my mum had just got home. I'd been working and couldn't wait to play the late, whatever game it was. And basically what, being a kid, what I didn't know is I was wiggling that thing. And all the phone line was a series of clicks, wasn't it? So I think I dialed 99 with the cable.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that's the service.
But at least if you're ever caught in a hostage situation and there's a landline nearby, you now know.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
You can do it, inconspicuously dial the old bill and not have to pick up the thing. You can just wiggle the cable around a bit.
One problem with that, we don't have landlines anymore, do we?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get caught in a very specific situation.
If you find yourself in 1998, and
when that time travel happens and you get... Yeah, maybe it's not going to happen, Dan.
and just one other quick thing I wanted to say. So I saw this on the BBC News yesterday, actually, and it was talking about, and we'd mentioned about like the indie developers and all the layoffs that are happening. There's this lady, Holly Hudson. She'd completed a university game design course. She, as everyone thought, there'd be a studio job waiting at the end of it. But, she said, obviously, because everything is so tough. So her and her flatmate or a uni friend have created the game. And it's out this week. I think it's called Morgan Metal Detective. So it's a game in Cornwall where you metal detect. It then led me to look up. So she graduated in 2023, just as the layoffs were happening and studio closures. So as of June of this year, there were just under 700 active game vacancies in game development. Fewer than 5% of those were in junior positions. Now, if we go back just a few years, so 2021, so that's when courses would be leading up to now, there were 4,800 students in game-related degrees for 700 jobs now, and only 5% of those are junior.
That's nuts, isn't it?
It's bleak,
it's very
isn't it?
skewed, isn't it? Yeah, massively bleak. I mean, that's all Microsoft's fault, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we've praised them and we've criticised them. But
Let's take them down a peg.
But yeah, I mean, to be fair to her and her uni mate, they've released their own game and we'll probably see that a lot more. We're going back, aren't we, to the 80s? We said bedroom coders, etc. Yeah. I mean, doing them a disservice. I'm not saying that, it's easy to do.
Some of those things are phenomenal.
But yeah.
You wouldn't have your Minecrafts and without those guys and Notch. It was Notch that did Minecraft, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and then the other. There's so many good games out there that come from kind of just single individuals. Sorry, just coding a game at home and just phenomenal pieces of work. So, more power to them. I'll be happy to see more of those types of games.
Yeah, and I think that's what we are, and fair play. So, yeah. Holly Hudson, and just confirm the game, More Good Metal Detective. So as you're listening to this, it would have come out last week. So nice. Go look it up. So yeah.
Well, the only thing I saw today, which I was quite excited about. So a few months ago, on the advice of one of my colleagues at work, hi Gary, I picked up Helldivers 2 on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
And I played the opening, training mission. And then because I've got no friends, the first mission on my own that I chose, and I just found it appalling and couldn't carry on because I think it's a game that's fun with friends. Yeah. And obviously Helldivers 2 now is launching on the Xbox and will be cross-platform. But the trailer that was released either today or yesterday, right at the very end of it, very much seems to tease a Halo ODST crossover. So you've played ODST, right? Yeah, so you know it's kind of the city, the rain-soaked city filled with jazz music.
Yeah,
and, it's basically that and a little drop ship that comes down at the end, one of the Helldivers drop ships. And obviously ODST are the Helldivers, or they're the drop ship crew from Halo. So they seem to be teasing, which will give me an excuse to pick it up. And I think you and I owe it to ourselves to jump on into a bit of Helldivers 2 when it launches on the Xbox and see how we get on.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play that, and I'm glad when you said.
And I found a friend, so
Yeah, when you said, I thought you were going to say you gave up on it, and I was saying, no, wait for me.
No, I did. It's still there. Don't worry, I bought the game, so I mean, it's not going anywhere. I've probably deleted it from the hard drive, but I'll put it back on.
Well, and that's a nice little segue into our main event.
It is,
but
yes, it is. Yeah,
we are going to play a trailer. We've not played a trailer for a bit. So do you know what? It's staring me right here. So shall we hear from the GCP boys?
Let's hear from the GCP boys.
Let's do it.
Welcome to my friendly game club where everyone is welcome. The podcast where we share, we play, we run and sing. Well, we don't run, but we do sing.
Hey kids, are you looking for a new favourite fortnightly video game review podcast?
Then boy howdy have we got the show for you.
We take a different game every 2 weeks and we review them just like a book club.
You can find us on all good podcasting platforms.
And some of the sketchy ones too.
Simply search for the Game Club podcast and join the club today.
Right. They don't run. I don't think they actually sing, but they do play games.
That was going to be my point.
Oh, really?
Great. I was just thinking, I listened to those lyrics. I was thinking, that's not true. I mean, in fairness, on Two Blokes from Blighty, they do quote a song lyric every, but that's not singing. So the guys, Tim, Joe and Alex, my challenge is I want to hear a trio. It's not it's not a duet, a quartet, a tri-tet. I want to hear you, three of you, doing a harmony.
It's true. It's got to be. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But they do play games and they do talk about them very well. So
I mean, I've sang on this podcast probably twice already, and we're much more junior than they are in terms of longevity. So that's it. Get on the mic, boys.
Waiting for the game music karaoke episode. We'll get them on for that.
Oh. God, there's something in that. Yeah. There's something in that, Dan.
Dan, quickly and swiftly moving on. Right, physical v digital. So, as we've been at pains to say before, and as people no doubt know, we've been through it. So we've gone through like the physical era. And, the physical era is not gone, let's say that. But, we are certainly entering the digital era. I guess... there's a really open question to ask you, but what's your view on it? What's your kind of history? What's been your view? And have you been are you going digital? Have you embraced it? Were you reluctant?
Yeah, I think, what's your view? So I start, we've got a podcast called Gaming Views. It's really interesting because I don't think I fully engaged with it before. I say before, and I'm going back a few years. When you and I used to work for a large conglomerate retailer, and during that time on one of the courses I had to do as part of the leadership thing, they asked us to come up with a thing to sell in stores, what move. move and make money, which is what they're about. And it was a team of me and 3 other people. And I proposed that we did one on selling digital media in store. So like a card you would pick up and take to the till. And this is before the days that anyone did that. And while we were doing that, we ran the numbers on physical media versus digital. And at the time, digital was so far behind physical media in terms of sales, but the profit margins were phenomenal because of the things and I know we'll get onto this probably later, but the things you didn't have to outlay for digital media. So it kind of became a bit of a no-brainer that, we could do this thing. And, so we built this whole package and advert and everything for this retailer, to kind of go and do it. So, but even at that point while I was doing it, my heart was like, oh yeah, and it'd be a great idea. My head was going, oh, I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to buy physical, because it was a similar time to one of our previous episodes where we talked about collector's editions and holding on to that physical thing. And I had always been very much feet in the camp of, I want to own the thing that I buy, because when you buy digital media, and I know many people are aware of this, you never own that thing. You have a license to play it, but it's not yours, right? But that's all you've got. It's not yours. So at any point they decide you can't have it, you can't have it. Your rights aren't really protected from that perspective. So, but I think over the last couple of years, my mindset has shifted very much so. And I very much am very heavily invested in digital. And I don't know, I can't quite explain why. I think it's just not having to, this sounds really bad, not having to buy something and wait for it to be fucking delivered before I can then put it in and install it over a night or whatever it takes these days. Because the principle for both these things is the same these days, right? You're not buying a game on a disc, because most of the games you buy these days, the amount of, bytes, whatever you want to call it, that it takes to install that game are far in excess of any DVD that you might buy.
Yeah. Well, it's
right?
often just a key on the disc,
it's
isn't
just a key,
it?
right?
Yeah.
So you're either buying a physical key, and we know I've had problems with physical keys recently, right? Or you're getting a number you type in, and you get it instantly.
Yeah.
So I'd rather save that. Do you know? I mean, maybe that, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but for me, it's just that I've become a part of the impatient crowd. I want it now. And if I can do it, I might as well. And I think because I haven't played up until I started doing this in May, I haven't played as frequently as I would do. So I haven't had to do as much of the juggling in terms of disk space and things like that, which is often a frustrating thing as well. So yeah, I'm heavily invested in it now. I did buy a physical game the other day, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. Oh, Space Marine 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I bought Space Marine 2 a couple of weeks back and played maybe about a third of the campaign. But the disc I ejected was, it had been in there since the game had come out, the Callisto Protocol.
Wow.
How long ago did that come out?
That's got to
3
be
years?
a couple of years at least. Yeah.
So that, and it had been in there since I'd played and finished it. So in that intervening 2 years, I'd been so lazy I'd never taken a disc out of the Xbox, but I'd never put one in. And the PS5 I have, purely digital. I bought the digital version. So I am probably as invested as anyone now in digital media. What about you? I know you, because you.
Well, it's funny. I'd say it's similarish with me. So obviously, right, obviously, I start growing up with the physical media. I loved that. We spoke about it before, and I alluded to it that at the start, the manuals loved that, and I was one for the collector's editions. But they'll look at what I've got now. I've just got Batman, who's up there, and a little Call of Duty notebook. The thing for me was at the start, and it still is now, digital. I just don't get how they can charge the same price. So I've always dragged my heels on digital because of that. But now, if you look sort of under my TV, I've got 4 physical games, and one of those, ironically, was Mafia, because I did get that slightly cheaper on an online retailer. But also, what you said about convenience. So before, digital, I think, was either a drunken purchase, like you'd had a few drinks and you're on all night. You said, "Oh, I'll get that game." But we did have, and I've got some stats which I'll come on to later. We did have loads of stores on the high street that sell a game, so I could go out tomorrow, buy the game I want, and come back with it. I could order it on an online retailer and get it back, get it the next day. Other than Amazon now, especially in the UK, we've really lost that high street presence, haven't we? I mean, supermarkets used to be a really good proposition for games. Now they might have 10 of the top 10 games for each console.
Mate, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them have even removed those. There used to be the old trick, because we worked for one of these large retailers. There used to be the old trick where you go in, and sometimes what they'd have, because they were already on system, they'd have games before release that were in the little drawers that sat underneath, and you could open them and just check. Oh, they've got Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's not out until the weekend. I'll just grab a copy. You take it to till, and nobody be any the wiser, so you get an early copy of the game, which used to be brilliant. Can't do that anymore.
Well, we used to have Electronics Boutique, but that was, I think, was that bought out by Game? We had Game Station, which I love as well. That was bought out by Game. So we lost 2 of our retailers because of that. Now, Game themselves, I mean, the title is quite ironic. I mean, I think this week, I think they've shut in a number of stores, but you can't trade games anymore. Yeah. Games, I think, are actually feels like a minor part of what they do now, isn't it?
Totally. And this is, it's all collectibles and shit now. I mean, but this is another great point. So that whole physical media thing, the carousel of buying physical media, playing a game, trading it in, picking something else up, whether it was another trade-in or whether it was a new game and you got a discount off of it, that was the beauty of it. And I was reading somewhere earlier this week, somebody had taken a bunch of games into CEX, right, to trade in. And I think he was saying the most he got offered for any game, and bearing in mind some of these were only a year, 2 years old, was like, I think the most he got offered for one of them was £7. And the one he made a bunch of money on was he had a sealed copy of, I think it was one of the old Pokemon games or Digimon or something like that. But they offered it on a Game Boy Advance or something. They offered him £70 for it.
Oh, really?
But again, on eBay, it was probably worth, £300 for a sealed copy of a game like that. But it was like bonkers. It's like, cause I was having a clear out the other day, wasn't I? When I was sorting that downstairs, and I sent you that image. I sent you that picture that was like, I found a stash of old games that sat in one of my cabinets. So I'd never looked at. They're literally right aside of me now, right? And I could run through exactly what they are. There's a bunch of them all sitting down there because I haven't found anywhere to put them. But it's another point, the amount of clutter or space that these things take up, and what do you do with them? Because how often do you go back to something? One of those games. What do you do with those discs? It used to be with CDs. I'd end up taking them out of the case and putting them in the little plastic wallets or the little Filofax things.
Back in the day of the Amiga and the ST, used to have like those boxes that you'd put the discs in and flip through them like a record collection. Yeah. But so I think I've molded myself into it for a number of reasons. And one is that, obviously there are still some independent retailers out there. Yes, you can get some on the high street, but now online is just the easiest way, as in digital. And also you do get a lot more sales now. So I won't, having said that, I've lied, because I think I did also treat myself to, Black Myth that came out this week.
The physical?
No, the digital. The digital version. Yeah. But that wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. I think it was like £44, so it wasn't like the 60. But, the Xbox, and I'm sure the PlayStation as well, constantly running sales where you can pick games up for like 50, 60%, which you didn't used to get before.
Totally. And or there's the trick of, going on to CD keys or instant gaming or wherever and buying, and I've done this a number of times. You buy £100 worth of, PlayStation wallet, and you buy that for, £84 or whatever, but you're getting £100 worth. So essentially you're getting £16 free. So you might buy a game that's £60 on there and you've got a bit left over, but you the next time you do the same thing, you're building up this kind of residual amount in your wallet. So then you end up with not a free game, but you've effectively, you've gamed the system a little bit to get something. And, a lot of these things, I mean, Amazon even stopped allowing you to do that. You can't use vouchers to buy either digital downloads or anything like that because of that very reason on Amazon. So, that is still a thing you can do now on certain sites. And, so you can get round and so if it's not on sale, you can still get a bit of a discount. But quite often you're right. They've even got discounts on newer games. You'll go on there and it'll be like, you get 10% off, or you get...
Yeah, pre-order it, yeah.
But it also feels like a cheat, right? Because it should be that fucking price anyway, because you're not
Should be
You've
much
got no
cheaper.
physical
Yeah.
media, right?
Because,
Exactly.
no case, no manual, no
Yeah.
disc, and because of that, you've got no production plant. I mean, obviously there's still development work. Not saying that. There's costs. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
But surely the majority of the cost has got to be in that production, you'd think.
100%. And then they got the cheek to go, but if you give us an extra tenner, I'll throw in a soundtrack for you. Fuck off.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're throwing us? Give me the soundtrack anyway.
Send the
Give me
band round.
pictures.
Send the orchestra round and play it in my living room.
Exactly. I'm gobsmacked when they do that. They go, oh, well, we can't offer you anything physical, but if you give us some more money,
Yeah.
we'll give you a soundtrack, or we'll give you some pretty pictures, or a making of video.
Yeah.
Fuck off. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, and also I wanted to go back to your point because you make a good point as well about clutter and space. Now, for some people, it's not an issue, but for me, I've said before, I mean,
Big houses, big houses,
yeah,
maybe, Dad.
yeah. My West Wing is full. No, so I mean, I've said before, behind me, obviously, is my record collection. I mean, it's not just those discs there,
But they're pretty. They're something you can display,
But
right?
but what I was going to say is I've run out of space. So I've literally, I feel like I'm stuck. Now, I feel they're easier to store because the games are small, but they are quite bulky when you start stacking them up and they take space. And then,
Yeah.
especially
I
like...
can tell you they do for a fact. I keep banging my leg on them.
So it is. And again, yeah, I did used to love flicking through, you get the cases and you go through it. But now I'm... if next generation is all digital, providing there was some things about costs,
Yeah.
I'm in for it now because I've molded, I've morphed into it, and I'm all right with it.
But I think the crazy thing about the cost thing, and when we talk about, the next generation, is it going to be different, and are they going to reduce the costs? I think the answer is very clearly no, right? Because if we look at overall market share now, in terms of digital versus physical, right? It's very skewed, right? Digital is leading the way all the way. So even armed with that level of information, Microsoft, Nintendo may be slightly different because they've always been kind of more on the physical side, although even now most of the games they've released for the Switch 2 are digital keys on a physical thing. Even armed with that information, and PlayStation's slightly behind, I think, where Microsoft are in terms of digital sales versus physical. Even with that, they're still going, do you know what, let's sneakily stick the price of a game up by another $10. Even knowing that it's
people buy
outweighed
it.
so... Yeah, and people buy it.
So why would they put it down? That's the thing.
They're not getting. So I don't think the price is ever going to start going in a different direction. That's the disappointing thing.
But do you know the other thing, and I've just got it on my notes here, the other thing that I do miss so about physical side of things is gifting. Like, I used to buy my nephew a game for Christmas or birthday if I couldn't think of anything else, if there was anything more suited. And there is something about buying a game, wrapping it up and seeing them unwrap it and play it. I think I know you can still gift, people shouting at us, you can still gift digitally, but it's not the same, is it?
It's not the same. And it drives me insane because my kids are always like, oh, Dad, can you buy me Robux? I'm like, no, I'm not buying you. I mean, I tell you what, let's go outside and just burn a pile of money because that'll be more efficient. I'm not buying you Robux for your birthday. There's no sentiment. I know it's what they want because they want to spend it on a fucking airband or something in a game that they're not going to look at in a year's time. But I'm like, I just refuse to do it. But you're right. There's nothing in it. It doesn't feel like a gift.
Yeah. And maybe we're of that generation, but I guess to us it feels cold, I guess, is what we're saying. It's not, it's still a great gift, obviously.
This podcast is not for young people, Dan. That's what we're saying. Don't come here.
No, we're hip. We're hip, right? Listen to us. We're
yeah.
But let's get back on track. We also, though, you alluded to it, I think the line is also blurring between physical and digital because I was talking to Joey about this, and wasn't there a case recently?
Oh, you've invoked his name now.
Yeah. We just as long as we don't say it for a third time, we're fine. So you said, we've said you can get a disc and it's a key, but wasn't there a Switch game recently where you bought the case, but there was nothing in it? It was a download key. Literally, you had to download the game online. I think all you were buying was an empty case.
Yeah.
Which
and
I don't get that. I don't get it. You haven't bought a physical game. What you've bought a case. That's all you've done.
But why? And this is a great point. Why have you gone to the effort of one, creating more plastic waste?
Yeah.
Right. But also producing the bloody thing, like the designers involved and the people involved in making it happen, and the prototyping. Why have you done that? If it was a bit of paper that you were selling,
maybe that gets around the gifting bit we've said. But yeah, you've got me an empty box.
Yeah, it's bollocks. Schrodinger's game.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, you're right.
Yeah, and the other thing, digital, at least you are going to get the full game at the time you download. So how many times have we said it takes an evening to get a game going because there's that day one patch of 50 gigs?
It's everything. It's everything, isn't it? This is two grumpy old men talking about games today, but it is everything. It's like, yeah, I've got to download the fucking game. And if it's Call of Duty, it's taken me like 8 hours. And I've got a fucking gig line to the house or whatever it is for, fiber to the prem. And it still takes forever. And you're sitting there going, right, I've waited for that to download. You go, right, let's go and play. And then you press the button. It goes, this game needs an update. So I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you need what? An update. And then you look and the update's twice the size of the bloody game.
Yeah.
You're like, and then you go, oh, sorry, you haven't got enough space to install this game.
Yeah, well, that's another
Oh
thing,
my
isn't
God.
it? Yeah. Free up space. So and that's the irony. We talk about clutter of physical stuff, but
Yeah.
we've got the same digitally. It's just moving it from the internal to the external hard drive and back and forward, or delete it.
I'm going to shuffle it about.
I've downloaded GTA 5 because I'm sure I'm going to play that in the next couple of weeks. Then COD's got an update, so I've got to delete GTA 5 because I've got no space for the update.
Well, I've got a problem with this, right? Because I said I'd bought the additional plug-in storage card for the Xbox, right? So I bought a terabyte plug-in storage, thinking stupidly that Microsoft would have been clever enough to go, all right, just all that now counts as internal storage. So you don't. No. I'm now juggling across 3 different devices, Dan. My external device, and 2 internal devices. So now I'm like, it's like, you haven't got enough space left on that one, but you could use this one. It doesn't do it intuitively.
Yeah.
It basically goes, sorry, you haven't got enough space. What do you want to do? And you're like, well, why don't you just install it on the other one that works exactly the same as the one that was already there? I'm like, I don't get it. Like, you can make it work, but they haven't bothered. They've just gone, slap that in and just, sorry, it's your problem.
We love this hobby, really. But but the other thing...
I don't get any other chance to vent. Nobody else cares about it, Dan. You're the only other person I know who cares.
But do we think, though, and... whether if you thought we were going to take one side against the other, no, our brains are just going to keep jumping. Do we think that this is ultimately what's made physical collector's editions so expensive now? We've talked about the £300 one because it's almost like they are a unique thing, and they are rare in a digital world.
A collector's edition now because you've got a shiny disc that no one else has.
Yeah.
Limited run of CD, DVD.
No, but I'm talking more now. Like you said, you can pay an extra £15 to get an online art book or an online album. But now, games that are giving you that physical stuff, we're seeing 150 upwards.
Oh, I think it's just commercialism in general, isn't it? It's just like, if you can do. If mugs are going to buy it, or I'll sell it. I mean, I think I said it before when we talked about the Souls in the Dark Souls edition or the Soulsborne edition. You've got a captive audience. You're creating a game that is going to sell by the millions. So even if you add a proportion of that, 1% that are going to buy a $300 limited edition statue of Melina or whatever, you're gonna go, well, I'll make it because I'm not going to lose any money. I mean, I'm selling them for $300, but it cost me probably $40 to create all of that content and everything that goes into it. Is per item. It's probably cost me $40. I'm going to make $240 back on it, and I'm probably going to sell them all. So why wouldn't you? And plus they got buckets of money. They announced today how much they'd made off of that series of games from Software. So or Bandai Namco that Namco did. So, but and we're going off track. But I think I'm not sure that's exclusively what's forced the price up, but they are, I guess, now more truly a collector's edition in that respect. Yeah.
And the other argument that's often bandied about is preservation, isn't it? Because we've seen a number of times that if you buy a game digitally, you own it, you've always got it. to download, but the amount of times we see games being pulled off storefronts, etc. So look, and also there's only a finite amount of physical games, right? So I've always taken this argument at least with a pinch of salt, but at least with the physical games, they are out there still. Whereas once it's pulled,
they're all floating around unless they get. What was that game that you had that they recalled all the copies because Unreal had stolen
Too Human. Too Human. Yeah.
Unless they did it. Did you send yours back? I bet you didn't send yours back.
No. I think if you had it, it was fine.
Okay. Oh, well, there you go. It's still okay. Dad's making up his own rules.
Yeah. That's the way it works.
I'm sure that's what they said. If you had it.
It wasn't me. It was a friend called Dan.
I don't think they're after you anymore.
He allegedly.
Silicon Knights have gone.
But I guess preservation is a real thing, isn't it? I mean, licensing.
It's a big thing at the moment.
Yeah.
Video game preservation. There was lots of stuff in the press even recently about the preservation of video games and kind of the history and things like that. And it is important. You're right. If it's there, I don't know how long are CDs, DVDs. How long are they supposed to last for? Before they start.
That's a good point.
There'll be a finite amount of time, right?
I think didn't they say recently, isn't it CDs or DVDs or maybe both got like a 20-year, I thought.
Yeah. So, I mean, even those aren't going to last. So, yeah, but I get your point. At least if you've got a physical piece, you could save down the code. You could, there are ways of retaining it. Again, you're still putting it in storage on a cloud or somewhere. I mean, the thing that concerns me, I think more than anything, is storage. Because we hear all these horror stories about, and we'll talk about it very briefly, but here was horror stories about AI, right? And the amount of power and the amount of cooling and the amount of storage alone that they're going to need to run these huge data centers for, to power these AI models. And the cost of storage over the last few decades has declined, right? It's cheaper to buy storage by the gig, than it ever has been. But that doesn't mean for gamers, certainly, that's going down, but then, the size of games is going up. So you've got this, I don't think one is ever going to exceed the other. So you're still going to have bigger hard drives on your console, if you want to store this physical media, or the infrastructure is going to have to get so good that the next leap where these companies go to is just online. It's all, everything is streamed. Everything is done from these massive data centers or, places like, Microsoft clearly got the infrastructure to do all this, so they wouldn't be doing as well as they do with Game Pass and the streaming that sits behind that. But, what does the next generation of consoles look like? So have a game like, I can't remember what Call of Duty, what was it, 60 gig, 70 gig now for a game of Call of Duty. So you're now talking 100 gig, where does it get to? Terabytes, petabytes, what does it get to where, because the creation and the resolution and everything else that runs the games, the Unreal Engine 5 and then it'll be 6 and, they need more capacity and storage to do these things. So discs purely by that are going to be completely obsolete, right? So where do you go? Do you go onto, fucking little storage cards like, Nintendo have done for almost their entire life and kind of go, well, now you're buying a card to plug into a console that doesn't use a disc anymore because the disc would just be a key. Now you've got the game is physical, but it's 2 terabytes on a single. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about next year or next generation, but where does it go? Where do you end up? I just don't know.
I think you're right. I think we are going, it has to go that way. I think Call of Duty, the last one, if you had the single player, multiplayer and the zombies and say Warzone, if you wanted all of that, I think we are, and I probably overinflated it, but I think you're looking at 300 gig, right?
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Right?
And okay, not many games did do that, but do you remember the day of having to swap discs on the 360?
Yeah.
I mean, Mass Effect bringing that back.
Yeah.
2, I think.
You haven't mentioned it yet. So you did well.
I haven't. I put out a tweet today. I cried for a week basically when I watched that. when I remembered that back to myself.
Please do go and watch the last episode.
Yeah.
Because Dan's reaction to some of his incorrect answers on Mass Effect are phenomenal.
I apologise to all Mass Effect fans and the Podpack Collective. I don't think I can play the game again. But anyway, we missed the point. But I remember, you had to keep, depending on which planet you went to, you had to keep changing the discs. And even then, I remember saying to myself, we don't feel like we're in an age where disc swapping should be a thing, right? we should play a game. And I think you're right. I think we are now by means of the technology available to us, by the size of the games, by, I think more importantly, the lack of probably selection around us. The next generation, I think most people probably would be happy to be digital only. Look, I'm not saying it should be, and there are people. I mean, look, we said right at the start, there's what do we say? 20? Do we say how much percent? I can't remember of the world at the time was still on dial-up. 20 million users on dial-up, right? So that's digital. Probably isn't an option for them.
Not a thing for them.
No, but
I suspect for most of them, the Super Nintendo probably isn't a thing for them at the moment. Dan, so,
yeah, but I think we have now. It was just 20 years ago. Well, no, not 20 years ago, but sort of 10, 15 years ago was just too soon. And again, we've said it before. Certain things were just ahead of their time, and all those people that are kicking and screaming, potentially like myself or ourselves. Look at us now, I guess. But
also look at where all of this stuff is going. I mean, even my younger kids, certainly, 90% of their gaming is online and not from a game that has come or even looked at a disc, right? Lovingly. Like they are literally playing Roblox or Fortnite, or they're playing, what's the other crap? Oh, Minecraft, right? So it's personal opinion, not the opinion of everyone. So those three games are prime examples of, one, they're all free to play, right? So you don't actually need to buy anything to get involved with them, but that's where they hang out with their mates. That's where they do their chat and social. It's all within this framework of these games, one of those three games. And they've never needed to even think about buying a game or physical versus digital, because they're like, and if it doesn't work on one device, they go, I just go online and play it on the web, or I just go and, so they I think that is true for a lot of the kids these days. And I mean kids, kids of, 10 upwards. I think a lot of them are playing in this state, and they're digital natives to this thing. They're just used to it. And they're like, well, it's fine because that's what I do. So I don't, you say to them, you talk to them about a CD player, or they wonder what the hell you're talking about. What is it? I don't even know what it is. What is a disc?
Well, that's the thing. And I'll go back to saying where we had all the shops on the high street, and you would go into shop one, pick up the game. How much do you go to shop two? How much are they doing it for? Have I got points? They used to do like reward points.
Yeah.
Now, and the thing I want to come on to as well, now I kind of get excited on a Tuesday because that's the Xbox day they refresh their deals.
When Gaming Views drops. And that's what you meant, right?
Can we cut that? Future Dan H, can you cut that?
Yeah.
So I get excited for Tuesdays because not only does Gaming Views drop, but that's when Xbox refresh their deals. And that's when
I genuinely didn't know that.
So that's when I look, and we've lost that shopping around element, but we've got it online presented to us. The other thing I was going to say, do you think also things like Game Pass have helped us adjust? Because Game Pass now, I'll download a game, played it 10 minutes, I'll delete it, I'll just download the next one.
Yeah.
That's a catalogue there that, we've probably touched, 10% of it, 20% of it probably.
But that's all by design, right? Yeah. Because they don't curate Game Pass to go, we only have the best. Yeah. Right? There's 80-90% of it's jank. Yeah. But it's by design, because it's like, well, I'm going to drive people there to pick something up. They might not like it. They might only play it for 5 minutes, but I've got what I needed from them.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think it has, that behavioral change has been driven by the platform holders, makers, Sony's, Microsoft's. Nintendo's not as guilty. Steam, which was probably the very first place where this actually started happening, right? How long Steam's been about for, but it's been about for ever, right? So PC was really the first platform that started all of this, in a good way, right? With the best intentions, but I think any of this stuff you can view it as a little bit Machiavellian. You can kind of go, well, they're doing that for a purpose, and they, because they employ all these behavioral scientists and people who, and they monitor all of this stuff to make sure they understand, via an algorithm, who's buying what, when, and where. So none of this is all of this is by design. None of this is, a happenstance. It's like, oh, we've stuck some games there. They're all free for you. Don't worry. It's all done to drive you down a path, just like any marketing or anything like that. So I think, absolutely. It's got, those, your PlayStation Plus and your Game Pass are all a part of why we behave now in this way and why we're driven in this way. It's not, it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not chastising it.
No, I think, during this, I was trying to see would I fall one way or the other, and I think generally, I think I've got to say I'm more on the digital side. That's not to say again physical's bad, but I think for my lifestyle now, and look, we are a convenience society now in the sense of I want that game, I can have that now, like you said. I mean, memory unlocked. I used to remember. I can't remember. I want to say it was called Special Reserve, but don't Google that just in case anything else comes up. It was games by mail order. I remember it was in the magazine. They would have a page of games, or you would order it and you would get like a catalogue. You'd write your check, you'd post it, and a week later you'd get your game. A week later, I remember getting Prince of Persia.
You've done it again, Dan. You're going to have to explain to people what a check is.
A check was money, was paper that you wrote a monetary value on it, and the recipient could cash it for that value.
The idiots.
If you had that money in the bank, that was.
Bouncing checks.
Yeah.
You remember those days.
But yeah, I remember the original Prince of Persia, and I waited, and I bloody loved that game.
Good game.
But yeah, it was mail order games. Yeah.
Was that the side scroller, or are you talking about the 3D?
Yeah, the original. Yeah, the side scroller. Yeah.
Mail order games. We used to have those as those book leaflets from school. Do you remember those? Like those for games.
Exactly like that. And I can't remember where. I think I would have seen an advert in a magazine. I think you could send off for a brochure, and they had a list of everything. You'd pick the one, you'd cut it out, you'd send it off with your check. And then
not Littlewood's catalogue, though, was it?
Well, no. And you'd put the trust that it was a legitimate operation and that you did get your game a week later.
But in those days, it more often than not was, rather than some scam that you get now.
But
thanks for your money.
But you see where we're at now. So from waiting a week for your game to now, basically, after this, I can log on tonight and download the latest sort of chart hit.
Absolutely. And it's all driven towards that. The marketing and everything else is now, I say that because, and I don't, when you look at how the marketing is driven now for games, when you look at a big game launch, right? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Elden Ring would have done it. Night Rain definitely did it. Call of Duty definitely does it. When they launch a game, they now give you one of these global maps with the launch times for your country.
Yes, yeah.
That's got fuck all to do with retail. I tell you that now, because there ain't no 24-hour stores open around my yard. Right, that's all about at what time can I get online, because I've pre-downloaded it, because pre-downloads are a thing, right?
Yeah.
I've had Outer Worlds 2 preloaded for the last 3 months. It's not out till October, or whenever it is, right? But I've had it sitting there, and all that is driving numbers for Microsoft. It's just saying this person is going to want to play that game at that point. Yeah. That's all it is. Yeah. So they've got a view of how big their server load's going to be and all that sort of stuff. So it's for the right reasons. But yeah, so all of these now have these global maps that say this is going to launch. And I know this because when Blop 6 launched, I changed my country to New Zealand so I could play it 24 hours early.
We don't condone that.
Well, it doesn't hurt anyone. No. It just means I'm tearing off of Microsoft in New Zealand rather than Microsoft in London. But it's, but this is what I mean. All of the marketing, everything is driven towards digital now.
Yeah.
It's not about, it used to be, we're opening the London Microsoft store or the London HMV at midnight to launch Gears of War or whatever it was at the time. Now, nobody gives a shit about that anymore. It's
do you remember the midnight launches?
Yeah, I went to a few.
Yeah.
And I used to love them, but none of that happens anymore. Yeah. Maybe physical consoles, but even then, it's only because you can't digitally download them.
I guess the equivalent would be getting like 6 of your mates in a Xbox party or a PlayStation party and waiting for midnight, 10 to midnight. Exactly. Guys, it's coming.
Mate, yes, Call of Duty all over, isn't it? That is what that is. Oh, totally.
But I did want to just change tact a little bit, actually. So, just about the change in the way things have happened. So I couldn't really get recent stats, but in 2023, 72.4 million games were sold via physical retailers. And if we look at brand new games, so games that released in 2023 only, we can see that 42% of all new games sold in 2023 were physical stores. in the first 40 weeks of last year, we saw the dramatic shift towards digital, where across Europe, 75% of new games were sold as digital downloads and only 25% as physical. So that's a 12% shift. Yet they say here shift is caused by increased digitization on PlayStation. For the first 40 weeks of 23, 41% of new PS5 games were sold via physical retail. But this year that dropped to, it dropped to 32%. And on stores, Switch, 65% of new third-party games sold on the platform were sold physically. So the Switch is the holdout. But we've said some of those games are not actual physical, right? At its peak, we mentioned here, so Game was, for those of you across the ocean, Game was and is still, in a way, our biggest high street presence, although they don't really do games anymore. At its peak, had 640 stores, but now there's about 230. So we're looking at a third. And in 2024, there were 341 Game digital stores. So I think this was where you could only buy keys, etc. There were 318 game and software specialists. There were 606 supermarkets selling video games. Now, if we compare that to 2020, there were 4,611 physical video game retail outlets. So that includes also things like Argos, Smiths, etc. So, so in terms of overall, we're down 3/4 of where you could go buy it.
Easily. And a lot of the numbers you're referring to are primarily around consoles. And if you play in probably the bigger size of the market, right? Because remember that gaming as a revenue is bigger than both music and films combined as an industry. It just is significantly bigger. But a lot of that comes now from PC and more importantly, mobile gaming, right? Which is massive. And both of those are, over 99% of those are digital sales. So almost exclusively mobile and PC games are sold digitally, whether it's through Steam, Good Old Games, Epic, whatever it is, or Apple or, Google Play Store or wherever it is. Those games are all sold pretty much exclusively across the pitch digitally. So as a market, I think it's going to be something, a 90%, 10% split, for everything combined, physical versus digital, which is nuts. And I know some of that will have been driven by behaviors that we as a race kind of created throughout, COVID and that in those periods of lockdown where you couldn't get out, and, we saw the detriment to the high street that caused, and, and is still causing. So we know some of that's going to have been caused by some of the turmoil that happened through that pandemic. But I think it just accelerated what was already probably likely to happen anyway. And we've just got there that little bit quicker. But you're right, over the past few years, it's just the pendulum swung massively, because, and I'm thinking back to when I did, I talked about that thing I did for the retailer earlier, and that was back in 2016, 2015, something like that. And those numbers were nothing like this. I mean, I'll try and dig out. I've probably still got some of my old notes from it, but they were nothing like this. They weren't even 50-50, and now you're looking at it going, it's like 90 to 90% of digital sales. Like, it's mind blowing how quickly that's changed over 10 years.
Yeah. How quickly we've shifted. Yeah. I remember the furore, the real furore as well. But I guess also now the big boys, like Xbox, Microsoft, PlayStation, don't have to worry about pissing off the bricks and mortar retailers either, because I think that was the thing as well, wasn't it? Because that was how you sold your consoles, right? It
absolutely was. Yeah, that was a big fear for them, kind of going, well, we can offer this stuff. And I say this because we did a bunch of research while we were doing this, while we were looking at, we had to do it properly. It's a bit like an episode of that crap program Alan Sugar's on. What's it called?
The Apprentice.
Yeah. So it's a bit like The Apprentice. You can tell I'm an avid viewer. It was a bit like that. We had to kind of go in and do this, what would you do to drive sales in a certain area? So it was very similar to that. So we had to do a bunch of research on it. But yeah, you kind of go and look at the trends in the market, and we spoke to a bunch of, video game retailers and producers of games, about what their concerns were. And a lot of it was around, well, you know, I'm going to upset the people who ultimately decide whether my console sells or not, you know, where it gets positioned in store, and, you know, they sell them to do this. They pay money for them to do this stuff.
Yeah,
so it's not just down to the retailer. I know that. But ultimately, you know, once their rep's been in and looked at stuff, you know, the retailer can easily turn around and go, well, you know, sorry, we're going to change our tack and do this. So, you know, there was a lot of fear around that.
And now they don't have that battle anymore.
They don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how I sell my consoles.
Yeah.
You know, I do it through Amazon.
Yeah.
And I ain't going to piss them off because, you know, people still buy.
Well, yeah.
And Amazon's got more money than anyone else anyway, so apart from Musk.
But the other surprising thing when I was looking this up was, and I mentioned it earlier, was how early kind of digital gaming was around for. Now, I don't know, you may know some of these, but the earliest, and there might be an early one, but the earliest one I could find was back in 1981 to 1983.
Wow.
So Intellivision's play cable. So that was the first home console to let users download games via a coaxial cable line. So you rented a cartridge that hooked up to the cable and would be able to download single games that could be played until you decided to load a new title.
And for those who aren't aware, a coaxial cable is your TV aerial cable.
Yeah.
So it's the cable that goes from that little funny antenna on the roof, if anyone's still got one, down into your socket into your TV. That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's insane.
And that eventually that stopped being a thing because it couldn't keep up with the space. So the play cable, the cartridge could only hold a fourth of the total space that newer games required. So kind of look at what we're saying now in terms of hard drives. The next one was in 83 as well. It was called the Game Line. So this was a third-party game service from Control Video, which later became, here we go, America Online. It worked with multiple game consoles and would let users download new games through telephone line connected directly to a special cartridge. And it would then limit gameplay to a certain number of plays that the users would have to pre-buy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Already monetizing back then.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
And monetizing in the worst way possible, pay per play. Like, you know, it's like your home version of the arcade.
God.
You got to line your 10p's up to play your game on the home.
Imagine you buy it. Say you buy 5 and you get 3/4 of the way through it on your last play, you get a power cut or something.
That's brilliant.
This one had 2 problems. The first was they never got big publishers on board, meaning that you were paying big money for smaller titles, and it also came out the same year as the video game crash of 83.
Right.
94.
They have the opposite problem nowadays, though, don't they? So when you look at, look, what was it? Resident Evil releasing on, like the iPhone.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's big money games for big money, and people just aren't interested.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I want to use a mobile for. I don't want to play Resident Evil 4 or whatever game it was on my mobile. Like,
that's another.
It's pointless.
It's another subject, but I couldn't spend a £5 on a game on my mobile, let alone.
No,
we've seen
not
ones
at all.
for 20
unless it's
quid.
Balatro. Well, that's okay.
Balatro.
Sorry, Balatro.
Sega get involved. So 94 to 98, they had the Sega Channel, and that was a monthly subscription service for the Genesis. Users paid $15 a month to get an ever-changing library of games that could be directly downloaded to a cartridge that plugged into a coaxial cable.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was not.
Oh, you got some great knowledge this week, Dan.
And for
I'm
you,
impressed.
I've actually already found some pictures for you that you can use.
You're my hero, dude.
It was not brought back for their follow-up, the Saturn. And of course, they couldn't just watch Sega do something, so we get Nintendo coming now.
Okay.
95 to 2001, you had the Satellaview. And that was a project by Nintendo of Japan to offer games, music, and news over satellite.
Right.
Users could
The name makes sense now.
Yeah. Well, users could tune in at certain times of the day to get the content, which would be downloaded into a special add-on accessory that's strapped onto the bottom of the Super Famicom.
I'm glad I missed that one. I think. Strap it onto the bottom of it.
Yeah, it's basically, we've talked about these peripherals before. It's a whole chunk of plastic that went underneath it. Yeah.
You know what they should have done? They should have had a chat with Sony about building a disc drive for it, and because they did their sound shit, that would have gone really well if they'd have done that.
What if? So they then also did something else. They did the RadNet in 1999 to 2001. It was specific to the 64 DD add-on to the Nintendo 64. Released only in Japan, it added a magnetic disc drive to the bottom of the console and allowed for games that took up more space than Nintendo 64 cartridges could hold. For about $30 a month, users got a special cable modem cartridge that plugged into the top of the N64 and hooked up to a coax. It fed information into the 64DD, with which games up to 64 meg in size could be downloaded from an online service. Yeah.
Were these UK? Because I don't remember any of these.
No, I think a lot of these, like the last couple, were specifically, I think, Japan only, and I think
I'm going to get the names off you and find some of these and pictures of some of these, because I'm quite excited to show people what these were, because I've never seen any. I'm quite excited to see myself.
Yeah. And the last one I've got, because obviously there's more up to the present day, but I stopped at 2004 because that was the Xbox Live Arcade Marketplace. The thing that I forgot about that was early on, the games were limited in size to 50 megabytes to be able to work for Xbox 360 owners who had purchased a lower-end version of the machines that didn't come with hard drive. Microsoft later lifted the cap to 150 meg, then 350 meg, though several games managed to get by that limit, including The Watchmen. That was 1.2 gig. So, yeah, now 300 gig. Yeah. I was shocked when I started doing this because, back in 1981, downloading things via a coax cable.
I'm until you said that, I didn't even know you could download things. I mean, it makes sense, right? Your images come down a coaxial cable, essentially. So it makes sense, but because it's all just data packets, right? So it makes sense, but I never considered it converting that into something that you could interact with. That's mad. It's mad. Yeah. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole now on that. That's going to be my next on the train to work tomorrow. I'm just going to be like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. So ultimately, Dan, I think that was all I had to bring to the party. I mean, and I don't think, look, we were never going to, this wasn't to set out the debate about which should be right for. I think we've always said you do you, right? And I would love, totally. If you're listening to this, let us know, get in touch with us or comment sort of what your views are. Was there anything else you'd had in mind about this subject?
No, I think, like you said, I think, it's important that people play the way they want to play, and we've looked and, seen people who, love their collections and they love, buying their physical media, and they, that's something they're truly into. They love the physicality of having and owning something and, pressing a button to take something out and put something in. And there's something lovely about that, right? I mean, it's, I think, there will always be a place for, physical media in some way, shape or form. I just do think we'll evolve to a point where it becomes completely unnecessary, or where it becomes, it's just impossible to use. Like I said, because of the scale and size of things you're trying to do. I mean, even now, like we said earlier, the size of those games, they would not fit on a DVD or a Blu-ray. So they are now literally, you're buying a key on a disc, and how much longer are we going to retain doing that versus, just downloading the thing off the thing, because it is so much more profitable for a company. So much more. Like, you think about the things, and I'm not just talking about the Microsofts, although they own many of them, but the developers, the publishers. There's no manufacturing, there's no packaging, there's no shipping, there's no retail partnership. There's nothing for them to worry about. They don't have to do any of that. A bit of website advertising, maybe a couple of pretty pictures, getting a digital marketer to do some stuff. Insignificant in terms of the costs they currently pay to produce physical. So how much longer are they going to? And, we spoke just a couple of weeks ago about the move of, actually last episode, about the move of, both Microsoft and Sony into a more digital friendly subscription service world where there's this cross pollination of games. So, why the hell are they going to bother? Let's just, they're just going to stick everything in the cloud and let you download it for a fee. I mean, I truly think that's where we're going to end up moving to. So you're either on board or you're, sitting there looking at your old collection of games that keep banging against your leg down by your desk. That's where you're going to get to.
I guess that's it. And I think my final words are probably, look, I think we need people that love physical collections. I think, physical stuff is good. I mean, look, am I a hypocrite? Because I don't like streaming music. So over my shoulder, I've got records. I guess what I would say there is that, at least I guess with the records, it's all on the disc, right? It's not, I guess that's the problem we're getting. And that's, to sum up what you've just said, yeah, that's the issue we've got now is the physical discs don't contain the game. Not all the time.
Yeah, almost exclusively never. Unless I guess it's, Nintendo still do, I think, in some cases. But even there, with the Switch 2, they're getting too big for that now.
But look, and sorry, and there was something I wanted to say, because again, we're going to invoke that name a third time now, Dan, Joey.
Oh, shit, he's going to appear on my bed tonight.
Again, again, I spoke to him, and again, I had a memory unlock, and I do just want to say this one, because look, and look, I absolutely used to love the physical side of gaming, which sounds weird when you say it like that.
That's so weird when you say that.
I used to remember another sort of memory unlock was, so do you remember, so before Costco here, we had there was a shop called Macro, which was very similar to kind of Costco. It was where, again, because my dad had a business, he would go there to pick up things, but they would also...
Warehouse.
Sorry?
A warehouse.
Yeah, kind of, but it was a bit nicer. Costco's more warehousey. Yeah, this was more classy. No, and they had a good game selection there, because this was back in the day, like 80s, 90s, where games were everything, right? And I used to remember we would go there. It was where my grandparents used to live, and every couple of weeks, my dad and my mum, we would go to see our relatives. My dad would play cards, my mum would catch up with my aunts, and me and my cousins would have to do whatever. But we would stop there to pick up some goods he needed, and I would invariably pick up a game, and I would never forget that feeling of holding on to that big box. And one that brings back memories is probably I shouldn't have had it at that age, but was Smash TV. Do you remember Smash TV?
Yeah, I remember Smash TV. Yeah.
Knowing that for like the 6 hours we were at my grandparents' house, that it was in the boot of that car or in the car. Wait until I got home, holding on to it, reading every word, looking at every picture on the back of the box.
Yeah.
And then getting home late, but still sneaking, when I went to bed, still sneaking a go of it before I went to bed. And those are the kind of things that you can get, I guess, with physical media that we can never get.
Yeah, nostalgia.
But
which is a wonderful thing, and it is a lovely thing. But times change, and we evolve with them.
No, we don't leave
those
the
memories
house.
will never go.
No, we don't leave the house.
Don't need to. I'll either buy it off Amazon or buy it off of Instant Gaming, and I'm away. Thanks very much. Or buy it direct from Microsoft. That's the thing I don't do very often.
What's that?
I don't very often buy directly from Microsoft or Sony on their store.
Oh, I do a lot, but mainly through the deals.
I know you do, but I always look I always shop around for the best deal, be it a download code or, like I say, be it kind of buying. The only time I do it is when I top up a wallet and I know I'm getting a discount through that method of doing it. But I very rarely, buy direct from Microsoft or Sony, because I don't know. I just don't think they treat people very nicely.
Yeah. That's
I don't want to reward them.
that's a topic for another episode. All right, look, anything else you want to say to the lovely people watching and listening?
Just you're all lovely people. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us out massively. Doesn't mean much to you, but you will get the latest content from us, of which there is lots and lots coming, lots and lots of jelly tots. Big stuff for gamers coming up. We've got Gamescom coming up in a week or two. So that'd be interesting. We're not going this year, unfortunately, but we will be. I'm sure there'll be some stuff out of that we'll want to talk about, no doubt. Yeah, there's lots of big game launches and stuff. And then obviously gaming reviews, which Dan covers with aplomb and I fumble through.
You don't.
But please like and subscribe and come back and join us.
Yeah, we've got about another 5 or 6 weeks at least of gaming reviews coming out. So definitely check those. Yeah, basically all I'm going to say is what Dan said. So yeah. Make sure you subscribe and tell all your friends about us. So,
friends.
Yeah. All right. Look, we'll see you next week for another episode of Gaming Views.
Ta-ta.